Max Jackson, Managing Director and Portfolio Manager at Ballast Rock Asset Management. Can you explain the current landscape for investing in and lending to commercial solar developments?
Yes, absolutely. There's kind of two places where people lend. The first is construction, and that's pretty down the fairway. That hasn't changed a lot over the years at all. That's pretty standard bank lending once the project reaches the construction point. Well, there's a lot of variability and a lot of interesting places to invest that we see at Ballast Rock Asset Management is in the development space. So this is before they reach construction. Before these projects reach construction, there is a capital need, but there is also risks associated with development that prudent asset managers need to be able to navigate. And so you have a lot of different players. You have certain larger private credit players lending to larger portfolios of projects, but you also have, and those projects I will say are done by smaller or larger developers with bigger pipelines. There are lots of smaller players in the space that are underserved by both the traditional bank market and the larger private credit investor market. And that's where Ballast Rock sees a lot of opportunity. These are smaller players. They still need capital, and it's smaller check sizes, but there's lots of interesting ways to partner with them. Also, once you're able to assess the projects on a loan to value basis, there's a lot of buffer from an investor side to feel like you're protected. And that's even taking into account some of the policy uncertainty. There still is enough of a loan to value buffer in the commercial space specifically, which is why we really like participating.
Max, what factors does Ballast Rock consider when investing in this space?
Yeah, that's a great question. We definitely think about project type. Within the distributed generation slash commercial solar space, there is kind of what's called standard behind the meter solar, and then there's community solar. We focus a lot on community solar because it has a way of democratizing the energy of a system across multiple off-takers. So individual customers who might not have access to solar can get solar through a community solar structure. We find that very appealing. We also focus on markets that have regulatory support at the state level. That kind of separates them and kind of insulates them from some of the uncertainty at the federal level today. There are many markets that currently have state support. A few examples would be Illinois, California, New Jersey, Massachusetts. A lot of these markets that have state-enabled community solar programs with additional incentives are particularly attractive from Ballast Rock's standpoint. And we always like to when we work there, we try to work with these smaller developers in those markets because we feel like we can add more value through kind of financial advisory services and bolstering them up to help them advance their projects, as a team.
Max, what are the investment vehicle types that might be available for people interested in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main one is what I would call a smaller scale private credit fund. And Ballast Rock Asset Management has that. It is a private credit fund that accepts capital from accredited retail investors, which is a marked change from most of the space. Most of the space for commercial solar investing is at the institutional level, which are very large corporate check sizes and do not really cater to individuals who want to invest in the space. Ballast Rock is uniquely different in that way. Our private credit fund that we have, the real estate private credit fund, does take capital from accredited retail investors, and then we deploy that capital into these commercial solar projects that we've been discussing. And we think it's a really great risk-adjusted return and a great opportunity for people who are interested in investing in solar.
Max, these have been very useful insights. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris.